Alright, so today we're going to talk about Tesla's biggest competitor in the world, and pretty much the only competitor that Tesla has. You gotta understand, when Elon says things like this, that the Chinese are the most competitive in the world, he's referring to one player in particular. So let's see who he's referring to actually. And you can see that in the top 10, we have 6 out of the top 10 being BYDs. So when Elon says things like the Chinese are the most competitive, he's referring to BYD. He's not talking about anybody else. He cannot call them by name because they're their biggest competitor. But he's referring to essentially BYD. He's not referring to NIO. He's not referring to XPeng. He's not referring to GM. So BYD has been pretty much the leader for the big part of last year. And if you can see, they've been destroying Tesla for since Q1 last year. It's essentially being absolutely annihilation. It's not been pretty. It's not been pretty for Tesla in China since Q1 of last year. But something changed, right? Like something started to happen in Q1. So just a couple of days ago, we just had China deliveries, and we just had for BYD as well. So look at what happened here. Something Tesla did right here between Q4 and Q1 that essentially made BYD drop like a lot. And now Tesla is on the way back up and BYD is on the way back down. So what happened right here that made such a significant change for BYD? What do you think that is? Well, it's very simple, right? Tesla dropped prices a lot, and you can see precisely where that happened. It was pretty much in December, starting in December, and then in January. And look at, these are BYD's best competitors against Tesla. This is a pure battery EV, and I think this is a hybrid. I could be wrong on that. But essentially, look at this. Instantly, a drop in registrations and a drop in deliveries for BYD's most direct competitors in China. And we can see it in here as well. These are in the last 40 days. We can see that it has flipped now, and Tesla is now, they have the 2 best selling cars in China right now. Look at where BYD is right now. They're delegated to 3rd and 4th place, and they have the seal right here. This is, I'm pretty much shocked by this. I did not expect the price cuts to have such a meaningful impact in China almost instantly. This is kind of hard to fathom, especially with the amount of dominance that BYD had last year. All right, so look at what just happened here. BYD just cut prices for the first time in a year. BYD doesn't really do this that much. In fact, for most of last year, it was BYD increasing prices in China where Tesla was decreasing prices. So it's a little bit shocking, to be honest. All right, so we knew this was kind of coming. Essentially, they're now reducing the shifts at some of the plants because since they're not selling as much volume as before in China, they're feeling the pain and they're just cutting costs. You know, it is what it is. So it's something that they have to do to keep their operating costs down and maintain profitability, because you got to understand that BYD is not just an EV maker. They make other products that are not necessarily profit leading for them. So the BYD chairman he's just calling for subsidies at this point. And you gotta understand that the China market is pretty heavily subsidized, and that's quite opposite to what happened in Japan. Japan is quite the opposite. The Japanese government doesn't care about EVs at all. They care about hybrids and all that nonsense. But the Chinese are the #1 market in the world in electric vehicles for a reason. The government really pushes EVs in China. All right, so I think what's gonna happen now is that BYD is gonna lose their throne. And Tesla hasn't been #1 in China since 2021. Yeah, they started losing the throne right here, where BYD just destroying them ever since. So what happens all of a sudden if Tesla just brings the compact, right? The compact will absolutely destroy not just BYD but everybody in China, because that's the biggest sort of selling model in China and also in India. If Tesla all of a sudden releases a compact, yeah, I think they're #1 in China for the foreseeable future. So we have to wait and see what happens in Q2. But these numbers are extremely promising, and Tesla's just on the way back up in China. I think we have to wait to see how profitability is going to come, especially in Q1, because the margins for Tesla might be a little bit compressed because of all these price cuts. But if we just release all of a sudden a compact that can be profitable on a gap basis, that's just the end of BYD. And not in the end that they're gonna cease to exist. They're still gonna be #2, but they're not gonna be #1. They're not gonna see #1 place in China for the foreseeable future, maybe 5 years. Yeah, it's not that easy to just outcompete Tesla when they're just crushing you with price cuts like that. I wanted to bring that little update on BYD because I think it's going to be very, very important in the China market, which is by far the most profitable and the biggest market for Tesla and in the world in general for EVs. So anyway, hope you enjoy, hope you have value, and I'll see you next time.